Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, we're going to be building a gaming PC that violates the Geneva Convention. You heard that right. This computer that I'm building in today's video is designed for war crimes. Not only is its design in itself the PC equivalent of mustard gas, but the PC is also only optimized for games that allow you or encourage you to commit war crimes. More on that later. First off, let's get right into the build, starting with our platform and CPU for today's build. So for today's platform, we have a use of landmines level of amazingly craptastic motherboard and CPU combo. Because this is an ASRock Z370 MATX motherboard. Now, that in itself isn't freaking terrible. But what is the fact that our CPU is a delidded and relidded with a copper IHS Core i3 8350K for some fuck all reason. I got this CPU from some guy who I have no idea why he did that, but here it is and we're gonna use it for today's video. This is a 4-core, 4-thread, highly overclockable CPU that is just absolutely so freaking stupid and is perfect for a war crime gaming PC. So that'll be going in our Lian Li Micro ATX chassis that I just picked up. It's a brand new release from Lian Li. I have no idea what's the deal with it, but I kind of freaking like it. It's super short and looks like a perfect base for our war crimes. Or I should say, a perfect Air Force base. Oh, I've got an ion shield. Oh, perfect. So let's get that out of the way. Just as important as our CPU, we've got our RAM for today's build. And it wouldn't be a war crime PC without some IED level RAM. And for that, we've got these. Yes, these are DIMM to SODIMM adapters that have blue PCBs with the only known red PCB DDR4 SODIMMs that exist strapped into them. So this is 8 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 megahertz SODIMMs in a desktop motherboard. You know, I might get in trouble. List of war crime weapons. Now that is a spicy motherboard. That's just dumb. This is stupid. Moving on. For our SSD, we have 3 options. We've got the West Taiwan Spectacular of the Asgard NVM Express SSD directly from West Taiwan. We've got the Long Boy, which is a boy who is long. And then finally, we've got the SSD that the FBI just finally returned for me after a year of investigation. Any of these will work for today's build, but I think we're gonna go with this one. And for our screwdriver, this, because duh. Wouldn't be a war crime PC if we could screw in our SSD, I guess. Now, as for our cooler, I have had to take out all the default fans from the case for various reasons, but we're going with this liquid cooler from Asetek. A couple years ago, they made this. This is the Intel stock cooler made by Asetek. It's a liquid cooler, AIO unit. A couple years ago came out. It's got a blue LED here, blue LED fan, and I've mounted it the war crime direction of fucking upside down, as people get mad at me when I don't do that. So we're gonna use that for our cooling today, which should keep our 5+ gigahertz CPU nice and cool. Now for our power supply, if you couldn't tell, we're going with the Be Quiet SFXL Power 600 watt power supply, just a 600 watt SFXL unit. This is not a war crime in any way. This is just a good power supply, but this case only fits SFX units, and I don't have any war crime SFX units, as I mentioned. So we're just going with a good unit from Be Quiet. Thanks so much, Be Quiet, for providing this for me. Although, said war crime power supply, this is an EVGA 1U PSU from one of the dumbest cases I've ever seen in my life, and just thought I would give it an honorable mention in today's video. Although it does not fit in any case that I have, so, alright, let's see if I can just get this all going installed in one shot so we don't have to redo this PC 1,000 times. So here we go. This should be easy enough if we just oh, what the fuck? Wait a minute. Does this fit? Am I an I'm an idiot, aren't I? Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. Hold on. Am I dumb? Okay. I've got the Apevia IED power supply here. Kind of a perfect unit for today's build, but Is this, am I a dumbass? Yeah, this is a full-size power supply mount. I have literally no idea why I thought it was SFX. Like, now that I look at it, it so fucking clearly isn't. I feel like I have to. This power supply is a ticking time bomb. But for the sake of the build, I feel like I have to use it. So I'm gonna use it. I feel bad for the Be Quiet power supply because I really wanted to use this in a build because they sent it to me like a month ago and I did the same exact thing before. Sorry, Be Quiet. Fine. Fine. I'm gonna do it. We're using a literal IED as our power supply today. I really like the parts I'm using, but I have to sacrifice them to have a genuine video. For reference, this power supply has no 80+ rating, is a 700 watt unit, and was $20 when purchased. Yeah, good old PVIA 700 watt Spirit Power PSU. Actually, we can get our motherboard installed and then we'll just do our graphics card. Yes, we do have a dedicated GPU for today's build. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, motherboard's going in. Ooh, that might be an issue. I moved our CPU cooler around a little bit in a way that probably won't affect performance too much, so that's fine. And I've connected everything so far that it needs to be connected, and we've got our PC almost built. But it wouldn't be a full Warcrime gaming PC without the Warcrime equivalent of a graphics card. And today we've got the GTX 690. Because in today's world, using a dual GPU graphics card from like 7 years ago is most likely not legal. This card has two GTX 680s on it and is actually pretty decent, especially in the games we're going to be playing today, because this card is actually amazing for all of those games that we talked about previously, because the GTX 690 is a great card and is supported in most of the games we'll be playing on this PC. So, it doesn't fit. Thankfully, this case has a special feature called shoving the fucking graphics card right through the front. Yep, there we go. It's honestly starting to look like a real computer. It's a shame that I'm gonna fry everything in it with this power supply. Get back in there. Now for cable management, we're just gonna kinda tuck and shove. You knew what this was gonna be about. It was lovely, it's so lovely. Oh my God, it can. That is, you couldn't even tell that the fan is literally sitting right up against this solid metal. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is the best thing I've ever built. You know, this entire PC is good, except for the power supply, to be honest, because this thing doesn't actually look half freaking bad. It really doesn't. I could 100% like see myself, you know, pulling up with this thing going like, wow, that's a cool gaming PC. Now the question is it going to kill everything in here? Because I'm really fond of my graphics card, CPU, and everything in here except for the power supply. So I'm really hoping that this power supply doesn't kamikaze the rest of my system, although it would kind of, again, fit with the theme of the build. I'm actually going to do a quick boot test. I'm going to plug this in, and I'm going to go grab a monitor of some kind. One sec. Alright, this was the only monitor I had on hand, so tiny display it is. And, got a keyboard and mouse here, gamer mouse, because this is a gamer build. Fucking hell, I'm going to turn it on. Oh, it turned on. I don't trust this power supply at all. But one thing to note is that this graphics card, the GTX 690, actually supports GeForce Experience. It is the first lineup of GPUs, the GTX 600 series, to support Shadowplay. So on that note, I am actually going to use Shadowplay to record my gameplay here, and we'll see how our Warcrimes gameplay works. But right now I'm just going to install my games, and I'll be back in a few. We got a working system, which is a surprise considering it's literally made of the crushed dreams of innocent civilians. So I'll be back in a minute when we've got our games downloaded, and we'll see how this thing performs in our Warcrime video games. Alright guys, I actually thought for a Warcrime PC we should bring out the Warcrime keyboard, which is why I have this. An Apple keyboard. Yep. This is an old, very old, iMac keyboard, Mac Pro keyboard. It's an Apple keyboard. That's all it's called. That's what they called it, so that's what it is. The Apple keyboard. So we're going to be using that on our Windows PC. And I'm gonna try to get right into the games. So I've installed 3 games that let you commit various different war crimes within them, and that all happen to support our amazing GTX 690. So I'm gonna play them on this stupid tiny screen, and I'm gonna try to record video locally on this system using our GTX 690's built-in NVIDIA encoder. I'm sure this will go absolutely amazing. Starting with our first game, we've got Hitman Absolution. And this game definitely lets you commit a few war crimes. Alright, I think I've illustrated my point. Now, as for FPS, we are seeing a solid 60 plus FPS in this game at max graphics settings, so we're at Ultra with MSAA fully enabled X8, so the game looks very good. Our graphics card is actually being severely limited by the fact that, although it has a combined 4 gigabytes of VRAM, it is actually limited to only using 2 gigabytes total, realistically, for the system. So in any game that actually supports SLI, we'll still be limited to the VRAM of 1 of our cards split across both, so we realistically speaking have an effective 2 gigs instead of 4. This card would have actually been a lot better with at least 3 gigabytes, much like the HD 7990 had from, the AMD equivalent of the 690, but this card only has 2, and NVIDIA, as usual, puts too little VRAM on most of their cards, so we're actually being held back by that pretty substantially in this game, but even at some points, though, we can still see 100 plus FPS. Not gonna lie, I'm actually extremely surprised that our, pretty hot, but that our power supply is holding up, because this thing, again, it's not that every bad power supply is going to blow up your system, but it's that if your system was gonna blow up, it would be a bad power supply that causes it. And I don't really want fire and sparks coming out of the system, but it would make an interesting video. So our next war crime enabled game is going to be Grand Theft Auto 5, and the game has launched at this really weird low resolution. It's an old game, but it really does have some stupid things that go on with it. Now, at these high settings, in a weird turn of events, our 9-year-old graphics card is actually not our bottleneck here. It appears that our quad-core CPU is 100% maxed out and is actually limiting our FPS in game. And it really just goes to show the kind of performance you used to be able to get on super high-end cards that had 2 GPUs per card. I must say, I do miss the days back when having 2 980s was the best system you could possibly have, and most games legitimately supported it. Nowadays, to get 2... For reference, 2 GTX 980s costed something like $600, and nowadays to get 2 3090s, which are the only card that support SLI, it's something like fucking $7,000. War crimes. Oh shit, I missed. Now this definitely wouldn't hold up at the Nuremberg trials. So, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. I'm having a fucking stroke.